Change is not the enemy, it's the invitation. Too many of us have been conditioned to treat change like an intruder, something that barges into our lives and snatches away the things we thought we needed to survive. We cry out, we resist, and we do everything in our power to cling to what is familiar because the familiar feels safe. But if you really think about it, the familiar is often what keeps us bound. The familiar can be the very thing that limits us from ever seeing who we could become if only we allowed ourselves to step into the unknown. Change doesn't come to destroy you. Change comes to introduce you to a greater version of yourself that you would never have met had life stayed the same. When you think back over your life, every significant turning point started with change. Maybe it was change you didn't ask for. Maybe it was change you didn't understand. Maybe it was change you never thought you would survive. Yet here you are. And if you're honest, the you standing here today is not the same you that faced that storm. That experience stretched you. It challenged you. And whether you realized it or not, it invited you into growth. You had to learn new ways of thinking, new ways of surviving, new ways of standing strong when everything around you felt unsteady. Change pressed you, but it also produced something in you. The reason change feels like an enemy is because it exposes our attachments. It forces us to confront how tightly we've wrapped ourselves around people, places, and plans that were only meant to be chapters, not the whole book. When those chapters close, it hurts. We feel abandoned, lost, maybe even betrayed by life. But what if the closing of that chapter is the only way you'll ever discover the next one? What if the rejection you faced was really a redirection? What if the job that ended was making room for you to birth the dream you've been carrying but were too afraid to pursue? Change isn't an enemy, it's the doorway to destiny. So often, we pray for elevation, but resist the very shift that would lift us higher. We say we want more, but we want it wrapped in the comfort of what we already know. Yet elevation never comes without disruption. You can't climb higher and still expect the ground to feel stable. Change shakes the ground because it's pulling you towards something greater. If you hold on to the comfort of where you are, you'll never stretch into the place you're meant to be. I know change can feel lonely. Sometimes when life shifts, the people you thought would be with you for the long haul begin to fall away. The conversations change, the connections fade, and suddenly you're standing there wondering if you did something wrong. But the truth is, some people are only equipped to walk with you through certain seasons. And when the season shifts, you can't drag them into a place they don't have the capacity to survive. Change is God's way of pruning, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Every leaf that falls, every branch that breaks away, makes room for new growth that could not flourish under the weight of what no longer belongs. When change comes, you have two choices. You can resist it and remain stuck in yesterday, or you can embrace it and allow it to carry you into tomorrow. Resistance breeds bitterness, but acceptance breeds growth. And growth is what life is calling you to. Change is the vehicle that drives you beyond your limitations, beyond your excuses, beyond the version of yourself that's too afraid to dream, too afraid to trust, too afraid to believe again. If you can stop seeing change as an enemy and start seeing it as an invitation, you'll begin to walk differently. You'll grieve, yes, but you'll grieve with hope. You'll let go, but you'll let go with expectation. You'll release, but you'll release knowing that something greater is reaching back for you. Change doesn't come to end your story. It comes to turn the page. The beyond is not a destination. It's a transformation. Too often, we live our lives chasing after a finish line, believing that once we reach that place, once we achieve that dream, once we secure that relationship, then we will finally arrive. We think beyond is a location we can pack our bags for, as if it's sitting somewhere on a map waiting for us to cross over into it. But the truth is, beyond isn't a place you can point to. It's a process that happens inside of you. Beyond is not a physical destination. It's a spiritual awakening. It's the unraveling of who you used to be so that who you were created to become can finally breathe. So many of us are chasing external signs of progress, but the real measure of beyond is not in what changes around you. It's in what shifts within you. You can live in a new house, drive a new car, wear new clothes, and still carry the same broken mindset, the same fears, the same insecurities. That's not beyond. That's just a change in scenery. True beyond is when you no longer think the way you once thought, when you no longer settle for the things you once accepted, when you no longer shrink yourself to fit inside places you've already outgrown. Beyond is a transformation that touches your identity. It calls you higher, it pulls you deeper, and it demands that you release the comfort of the old so you can embrace the stretching of the new. We all say we want beyond. But if we're honest, many of us want it without the transformation. We want the blessings, but not the breaking. We want the elevation, but not the pruning. We want the victory, but not the battle. But beyond doesn't work like that. Beyond requires that something in you changes before anything around you does. Beyond is not given to the person you are today. It's entrusted to the person you're becoming tomorrow. And if you're unwilling to be transformed, then you will never truly step into beyond. Transformation is not glamorous. It is messy. It is uncomfortable. It is that place where you feel like everything you thought you knew is being stripped away. And you don't recognize yourself anymore. It's the tension between who you used to be and who you are becoming. That tension is the space of beyond. You cannot carry yesterday's wounds, yesterday's bitterness, yesterday's habits into the new season and expect to flourish. Beyond demands that you release what doesn't serve your future, even if it once served your past. Some of you are asking why life has been so unsettled. Why doors are closing, why familiar spaces don't feel the same anymore. It's because you've outgrown them. You're being called into a transformation, not a vacation. Beyond doesn't feel comfortable because it's not supposed to. Beyond doesn't look familiar because it's not supposed to. Beyond is designed to stretch you until the shell of your old self can no longer contain the capacity of your new calling. And when that shell breaks, you feel the discomfort of loss. But what you're really experiencing is the birthing of transformation. Beyond isn't about what's waiting ahead of you. It's about who you're becoming along the way. If you embrace the transformation, you won't just reach a new level. You'll arrive with the maturity, wisdom, and strength to sustain it. Some people step into new levels and fall because they weren't transformed in the process. But when you allow yourself to be changed from the inside out, the beyond you step into is not something you have to chase. It's something you become. So don't think of beyond as a destination you're trying to get to. Think of it as a mirror reflecting back to you the version of yourself that God always intended you to be. Every trial, every setback, every shift is chiseling away the parts of you that cannot carry the weight of your destiny. Beyond is not found on the outside. It is revealed from the inside. Your pain is not permanent. It's a passage. We live in a world that tells us when something hurts, when something breaks, when something feels unbearable, that this is the end of the story. We hear voices, sometimes from others, sometimes from within ourselves, whispering that the pain we're carrying will define us forever. But pain is not your final destination. Pain is a vehicle, a teacher, a bridge that takes you from where you were into who you are becoming. Pain doesn't come to imprison you. It comes to pass you through. Think about the seasons of pain you've already survived. At the time, they felt like a weight you couldn't carry, a storm you couldn't outlast, a fire that would surely consume you. And yet here you are, breathing, standing, maybe even stronger than you've ever been. What felt permanent in the moment was never permanent. It was part of your passage. That heartbreak that nearly broke you open didn't come to leave you shattered. It came to reveal resilience you didn't know you had. That loss that tore a hole in your soul didn't come to erase you. It came to carve out space for a deeper sense of compassion, empathy, and purpose. Pain shapes us, not to keep us in pieces, But to make us vessels capable of carrying more than we thought possible, we misunderstand pain when we think it's a punishment. We ask, why me? What did I do to deserve this? What could I have done differently to avoid this? But pain isn't always about what you did or didn't do. Sometimes pain is life's way of repositioning you. Sometimes pain is proof that growth is taking place. The seed doesn't break open without pain. The butterfly doesn't emerge from the cocoon without struggle. The muscles don't grow stronger without tension and tearing. And just like those processes, your pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to transform you. But let's be real. It doesn't feel that way when you're in the middle of it. Pain feels suffocating. It feels endless. It feels like nobody understands the weight you're carrying. And when you're sitting in that space, it's easy to believe the lie that this is all there is, that nothing will ever shift, that joy will never find you again. But if you can hold on just a little longer, you'll see that pain is not permanent. It is a passage, and passages lead somewhere. Some of the most powerful revelations you'll ever receive don't come in seasons of comfort. They come in seasons of pain. Pain forces you to look deeper, to search for meaning, to cry out in ways you never had to before. Pain pushes you closer to your Creator because you recognize you can't carry it on your own. Pain teaches you to release control, to surrender, and to trust that something greater is happening. Even when you don't understand it, you don't have to like the pain to learn from it. And you don't have to welcome the pain to be changed by it. When you're walking through pain, you might lose some people. Not everyone has the capacity to sit with you in your valley. Not everyone can understand the tears you cry when the lights are off and nobody's watching. But that's okay, because pain also reveals who's real, who's solid, who's meant to walk with you into the next season. Pain strips away the shallow so that only the true remains. And sometimes the only thing left standing with you in that place is your faith, your hope, your determination to keep moving forward. And that is enough. Your pain is not permanent. It may leave scars, yes, but scars are not signs of weakness. They're proof that you survived. They're evidence that the wound closed, that healing came, that you walked through the fire and didn't get consumed. Don't despise your scars, honor them. They remind you that pain is a passage, and passages are meant to be traveled, not lived in. So when pain knocks at your door, don't see it as the end. See it as a chapter, not the whole story. Allow it to move through you, to teach you, to refine you, but don't let it convince you that this is where your journey stops. Because the truth is, the very place where you thought you'd be buried is often the place where you'll rise. Faith makes change fruitful. Change by itself can feel like chaos, like disorder, like everything you've built is slipping right through your hands. And when you're standing in the middle of change without faith, all you see is what's falling apart. You see the job that ended, the relationship that shifted, the door that closed, and it looks like loss. But when faith enters the picture, you realize that change isn't just happening to you, it's happening for you. Faith reframes the mess into meaning, the loss into lessons, the endings into beginnings. Faith takes the uncertainty of change and plants seeds that will grow into fruit you couldn't have imagined on your own. The truth is, change without faith can leave you bitter. It can leave you questioning everything, wondering why life keeps pulling the rug out from under you. You start believing that maybe you're cursed, maybe you're forgotten, maybe you'll never get ahead. But faith whispers a different story. Faith tells you that even when the ground is shaking, there's a foundation beneath your feet that will never move. Faith tells you that what you see now is not the full picture, that there's a bigger plan unfolding beyond your understanding. Faith takes change from being a random disruption and turns it into a purposeful shift. It takes faith to look at the ashes of what you've lost and believe beauty can come from them. It takes faith to believe that the season of pruning is not punishment, but preparation. It takes faith to stand in the middle of a storm and declare that peace is still possible. Without faith, change feels like death. With faith, change becomes a rebirth. Sometimes we pray for new seasons, but we forget that new seasons require transitions. We want the harvest, but we don't want the plowing. We want the promise, but we don't want the wilderness. We want resurrection, but we don't want the cross. Yet faith teaches us that you can't have one without the other. You can't receive the fruit if you're not willing to go through the planting. You can't hold the blessing if you're not willing to endure the breaking. Faith doesn't erase the hard parts, but it gives them meaning. Change has a way of stripping us, pulling away the things we thought we needed. It removes the safety nets, the people we leaned on, the places we found comfort in. And if we don't have faith, we'll think those losses mean we're empty. But faith reminds us that emptiness is just the room being cleared for something greater. Faith says, don't mistake the removal for rejection. It's making space for increase. Faith says, don't confuse the silence for absence. Something is being worked out on your behalf. Faith keeps you steady when change is unsettling everything else around you. And let me tell you, faith doesn't mean you won't cry. You won't hurt. You won't question. Faith doesn't cancel out your humanity. Faith simply says, even in my tears, I trust. Even in my confusion, I believe. Even in my weakness, I lean on the one who is strong. Faith makes change fruitful because it refuses to let the pain be wasted. It insists that the storm has purpose. It declares that the wilderness has lessons. It dares to believe that every single shift is pointing you toward destiny. There are things you will only learn in seasons of change. When faith is your anchor, you'll learn patience when you want control. You'll learn surrender when you want answers. You'll learn resilience when you want to quit. You'll learn trust when everything in you wants to doubt. And by the time the season shifts again, you'll realize the fruit of faith was not just what changed around you, but who you became within it. So the next time change shows up at your door, don't just see what's leaving. Look for what's coming. Don't just see what's breaking. Look for what's being built. Don't just see what's closing. Look for what's being prepared to open. And the only way to see that is through the eyes of faith. Change on its own can feel empty. But when faith fills it, change becomes the soil where your greatest growth is planted. Beyond is built in the uncomfortable. We love to dream about new levels, new opportunities, new blessings. But we often forget that stepping into something new means stepping out of something familiar. And the space between where you were and where you're going is uncomfortable. It's that stretch where nothing feels steady, where the old doesn't fit anymore, but the new hasn't fully taken shape. It's awkward, it's unsettling, and if you're not careful, it will make you want to run back to the comfort of what you outgrew. But the truth is, beyond can never be birthed in comfort. Growth doesn't come when you're at ease. It comes when you're being stretched. Think about it. No butterfly is formed without the struggle of breaking out of the cocoon. No diamond is made without the pressure of the earth. No muscle gets stronger without the resistance of weight. That means the discomfort you're facing is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're forming. The tension you feel is evidence that you're in transition. And though everything in you may want to run from it, the uncomfortable place is where the beyond is built. The uncomfortable is where your character gets tested. It's easy to praise when everything is going right, but can you worship when everything is shifting? It's easy to trust when doors are opening, but can you still trust when doors are closing? It's easy to believe in yourself when people are clapping, but can you believe when the applause goes silent? The uncomfortable stretches you in ways comfort never could. It reveals whether your confidence is rooted in circumstances or in something deeper. It reveals whether your faith is conditional or unconditional. We all want beyond, but most of us resist the very discomfort that produces it. We want the blessing, but without the breaking, the strength, but without the struggle, the testimony, but without the test. But you can't have beyond without walking through the uncomfortable. The uncomfortable isn't there to destroy you. It's there to strip you of what can't go with you. It removes the old patterns, the small thinking, the limiting beliefs, the toxic attachments. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it makes you wonder if you're losing yourself. But really, you're shedding the version of yourself that could not survive in the place you're being called to. And let's be honest, the uncomfortable feels unfair. You look around and see others living in what looks like ease, and you wonder why your road has to be so hard. But what you don't realize is that your calling requires capacity. You are being built to carry something greater. And greater capacity requires greater stretching. Not everyone can walk the road you're walking because not everyone is called to what you're called to. That's why you can't measure your process against someone else's comfort. The uncomfortable is tailor-made for your beyond. It is in the uncomfortable that you discover strength you didn't know you had. It's in the uncomfortable that you learn to stand on faith instead of feelings. It's in the uncomfortable that you stop depending on people to validate you and start walking in the confidence of who you were created to be. And by the time the uncomfortable season has done its work, you'll look back and realize that it wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build you. So if life feels shaky, if the ground feels unsteady, if you're in a space that doesn't quite make sense, don't run from it. Lean into it. Ask what it's teaching you, what it's stripping away, what it's preparing you for. Don't curse the uncomfortable because the uncomfortable is constructing your beyond. Every tear, every wrestle, every long night is not wasted. It's laying the foundation for the place you're about to step into. Beyond is not found in the easy places. Beyond is forged in the fire of discomfort, in the stretching of your faith, in the breaking of your limits. And though it doesn't feel good, it is working for your good. Change doesn't just move your circumstances, it moves you. We spend so much of our lives waiting for everything around us to shift. We want new opportunities, new relationships, new environments, new blessings. We think if only things out there could change, then everything inside of us would finally fall into place. But the truth is, the most powerful work of change isn't what happens around you. It's what happens within you. Because you can step into a new house, a new job, a new season. But if the person you are on the inside hasn't changed, you'll keep repeating the same cycles no matter how different the scenery looks. Change is not meant to just rearrange your life. It's meant to reshape your identity. It calls out the parts of you that have been hidden, buried beneath fear, insecurity, and doubt. It forces you to confront habits that no longer serve you, thought patterns that keep you small, and wounds that have gone unhealed. Change demands honesty. It puts a mirror in front of you and asks, are you willing to become the version of yourself that your future requires? That's not easy because most of us cling to who we've been, even when who we've been is suffocating us. But change doesn't let you stay there. It pushes, it presses, it pulls you into becoming. And here's the thing, you can't fake internal change. You can wear the right clothes, say the right words, post the right images. But if transformation hasn't happened within you, the fruit will show. The same battles will resurface. The same broken patterns will repeat. The same disappointments will circle back. That's why life keeps sending some of us the same lessons in different packaging. Because it's not about what's shifting on the outside. It's about whether or not you're being shifted on the inside. When real change moves you, you stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop apologizing for being who you are. You stop shrinking to fit into places you've already outgrown. You stop trying to resurrect seasons that were never meant to last forever. Change matures you. It grows you up. It teaches you to value peace over popularity, purpose over approval, authenticity over appearances. That's why some people don't recognize you anymore when you change. They're meeting a version of you that no longer bends to their expectations. And that's okay, because the point of change was never to make them comfortable. The point of change was to make you whole. Yes, change shifts circumstances, but if you let it do its deeper work, it shifts you into alignment with your destiny. It wakes up the gifts that have been dormant. It stirs up courage you thought you didn't have. It sharpens your vision so you stop wasting time on distractions. And most of all, it heals the parts of you that were too broken to step into the fullness of who you are. That's why change can feel so heavy. It's not just moving your environment, it's moving your soul. There's a version of you on the other side of change that you haven't met yet. That version is bolder. That version is wiser. That version is freer. But you can't meet them unless you let change do what it came to do. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it feels like pieces of you are being torn apart. I know it feels unfair that life keeps demanding you to stretch, to let go, to release. But that tearing is making room. That stretching is expanding your capacity. That release is clearing the weight that was holding you back. You are not just walking through change. You are being changed. So don't get discouraged when the outside doesn't shift as quickly as you want it to. Look for the evidence of what's happening within you. Pay attention to the patience you never used to have, the peace that doesn't make sense, the clarity that suddenly cuts through the noise. That's how you know change is moving you. That's how you know you're not who you used to be. And if you keep allowing that inner transformation to take root, the outside will eventually catch up.